name is Valentina. Haha. Wait, can I do that again? Growing up, I grew up in a Catholic family, but it was very surface level. I lived in Venezuela for the first 4 years of my life, and the life that I lived there was completely different from what I was living in here, in the US. It was easier for us in Venezuela because just all the things that we had and how great of a job my dad had, and then just moving here, the stress that it caused on my parents. I didn't go to church that much. I only went for Easter or Palm Sunday, and my parents never really forced me to go either, but it was always something that was there as a back way plan. I don't know, I just believed in God, but that was about it. Well, growing up, elementary and middle school, I had a pretty good childhood, so to say, kind of. The only thing that I really struggled with was my parents' divorce in middle school, and then also I had a really bad relationship with my mom. I started high school, and freshman year was fine, but sophomore year I started hanging out with the complete wrong group of friends. They basically just used me a lot. Used me either for homework, used me for different things that I could do for them, but they led me towards the wrong things too, and I was always super I could never say no to anything. I started partying a lot, and I started going to parties basically every single weekend, and then that led me to do things like drinking, smoking. I tried to be satisfied and get full off of the drinking and the vaping and the smoking, and then hooking up with guys and stuff like that, and that really left me in a broken place. Every single night it was if I wasn't at a party or something like that, I was in my room super sad about my life. I didn't feel loved by my family, I didn't feel loved by my friends, so I turned to other substances and stuff like that to try to get over it, I guess. The summer between sophomore and junior year, I went on my first retreat, and I guess that was the first time that I really knew more about the Catholic faith, but I came up with that retreat, and I was pretty Jesus high, I guess. I personally thought that I was doing good because I was living this lifestyle of going out with friends and doing whatever I wanted to do, but then I was also doing good by serving and leading retreats and stuff like that. I knew God, but I still was using him. I'd only go to him if I needed something. I'd only go to him if there was no one else. My relationship with God was literally just about getting another high. I'd come off of a retreat and I'd be super into it, but then 2 days later my friend would invite me to go to a party or something, and then I'd completely forget about everything that I had just experienced or anything like that. I got into a really bad relationship as well, and once that was over, that left me in an even worse spot. I completely went downhill. I had always kept up with my studies, and that was something I did really well in school, and that was something that I told myself that if I could still party and do whatever I wanted and keep up my grades, then I was doing well. I still did well around junior and senior year, but it wasn't as well as I could have done. At that moment in my life, I didn't really like myself at all. I felt like a fraud, I felt like a joke, and I felt as if I had disappointed everyone that I had met, including God. Because the only person that was there for me was him, and I never turned to him. I never reached out to him, didn't even ask for help, was just there to use him. And in the same way that I felt used by my friends, I was using God. So at the end of my senior year of high school, there was this music festival that I was going to. The days leading up to it, I was just planning everything, and my parents ended up finding some text messages of, I was texting a friend. They basically found out through those messages that I was smoking weed, and they caught me. They confronted me with everything, and I just, in that moment, I couldn't hide anymore. All of these years of being a fraud and of being a joke and just hiding behind that, they were finally revealed. There was no more hiding. My parents knew everything. More people found out about it, and I was uncovered. There was no more hiding at all. That's the moment where I really I knew something had to change, but I didn't know where to start. Literally, like, I don't know, 3 weeks after my parents had called me, I was called to serve on the week-long retreat. It was the same retreat that I had first gone on like 2 years ago, where I first really was introduced to God. I was called to serve for 2 weeks straight, and I just found it crazy because out of everything that had happened in my life, I didn't understand why they were calling me out of all the leaders that they could have chosen. I was a bit scared at first because even though I knew a bunch of people there, I wasn't close to any of them, and a lot of them knew the life that I had been living. I felt ashamed being there because I didn't feel worthy enough to even be serving others. Right off from the start, I just felt super welcomed by everyone. I felt super loved by everyone, people that I barely even knew, that I hadn't seen in a year basically. And they welcomed me as if I was their family. They just showed me the love that I had been missing for 18 years of my life. For the first time in my life, I actually felt like I had true people around me, like people that actually loved me and cared for me and not just wanted to use me. One of the people that I was the closest to was Kata. So this girl, Kata, Kata has always been one to really listen to anything that I have to say, whether it's funny or not, whether it's interesting or not, she's just there. And I started talking to Kata a lot on this week long. Kata really made me feel heard with whatever it was that I was saying. I remember one night she came over to my dorm room and we just talked for like 2 hours straight about like my life in like Venezuela and stuff like that. And she just seemed so into it, and it was the first time that I really, I guess, had talked to like a friend that like wanted to know more about me and wanted to know more about my story. She just made me feel like a person. Like, she made me feel real. She made me feel like a human being. Seeing a lot of people open up to others kind of made me want to do the same thing. I had been bottling up so many things for 18 years of my life, and I was ready to like explode. I opened up to her and I told her that I needed like a change in my life. I was sick of being this fraud. I was sick of being this joke. At that point in my life, I like knew what needed to be done, but Kata was the one to push me and to tell me to go for it. She wasn't afraid to tell me that I could change. I had one of the adult leaders, Justin, come up to me. All he did was ask me like, hey, like, how are you? But I had never really been asked that like in so long, like truthfully asked that. He just asked me like how I was doing, how my life was, and my life was like crumbling to pieces, but at that moment I didn't open up to him. Justin asking me how I was so simple, but it was something that I really needed in that moment. It opened up a window for just knowing that I could go to someone for help. I could turn to God for help. So during this retreat, I had a concert that was like taking place during the middle of the retreat that I was still planning on going to. So at that concert, obviously gonna be drinking and smoking and vaping, and for me to go on a retreat and then stop it to go to a concert and then come back on the retreat, dude, that was just putting up another mask again, and just being the fraud that I had been living all over again. I had already said yes, like I was gonna go to it, like for sure. I knew that I didn't want to go on that concert. I was only going to that concert to like please my group of friends, and I wasn't one to say no. The night before the concert, I was just in my room at the retreat, and I was thinking about this whole concert thing because some of my friends that I was gonna go to it with, they were just texting me. And so I'm here texting my friend with my phone in my hand. I remember the moment so clearly. I was there on my phone and something like took over me, and I just texted my friend and I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna go to the concert. In that moment, my head was saying like, what? I don't know, it was just, I cannot explain that moment. I can't explain like what led me to like change my mind. As soon as I told my friend this, she was texting me and she was like, why can't you go? And I'm like, dude, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, there's something stopping me. And she was like, it's Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, like it is. I ended up staying at the retreat and not going to the concert. But it was weird because I still felt, even though I was in a place like full of people that loved me, I hadn't made a change yet. I felt like God was super distant, even though he was like right there. Like I wanted to feel loved by God, and I wanted to feel his presence. And And I felt like the only way to do that was to finally surrender to him everything that I had been holding onto, all this weight that I had been holding onto. I kept getting reminded of when Justin just asked me like how my life was and stuff like that, and when I lied to him and said it was fine and stuff. So I ended up going to him and just asking if we could talk. So I ended up talking to Justin, and I ended up talking to Justin for like 3 hours about literally everything. I had never really liked talking to anyone about my problems or anything like that. There were so many things that I just hadn't told anyone at all. I just opened up to him about it and to God about it. Wait, I'm gonna some ice in my system. Ice is so good. I said it straight to the camera.
That's gonna definitely be in there, don't worry.
So I opened up to Justin about literally everything. I opened up to him about my family and how unloved I felt. I opened up to him about my past relationships. I opened up to him about how I was vaping and smoking and drinking and just doing that to run away from my problems and to find fullness in that. I also opened up to him about the group of friends that I was hanging out with and just about how I didn't feel like anyone loved me at that time. He told me that I really needed a community where people cared about me. I needed friends who wanted me to go to heaven. I needed friends who wanted to take me to heaven and not lead me away from it. He told me that I also needed to change. I needed to change my ways. I needed to change just the things that I was doing, the people that I was hanging out with. I needed to surrender all of that to God, and I needed to understand that God was gonna forgive me no matter what I had done, no matter how great of a sin I thought I had committed. He was gonna forgive them all, but I needed to step up and I needed to confess that. So after I talked with Justin for like 3 hours, we had adoration that same night. My past experiences with adoration, I never truly felt God's presence at all. But it was because I wasn't surrendering anything to him. After opening up to Justin and everything, I knew that I felt that this adoration was going to be different. During adoration, I turned to God and I just told him that I was ready to change. I was ready for him to transform my life. I was ready to surrender everything and give him my all, because I had been neglecting him for so many years, and I was ready to actually have a relationship with him and not just use him. So that's what I did, and I felt extreme like happiness. I just was laughing so much and I was just smiling so much. For the first time in a while, I actually felt loved by him. It was weird because I felt, even though everything with like my family, my friends was crashing down, I felt that it wasn't. I felt that everything was fine, and I was ready to start this new chapter in my life. Once I encountered God, there were so many things that changed in my life. Even though I still struggled with feeling love from my family especially, that didn't matter at all because I felt loved in general. I felt loved from him. With my life now, I feel loved and I feel like I'm enough. Whether society doesn't think I'm enough, whether others don't think I'm enough, I know that I am enough. In having a relationship with God, I completely changed the group of friends that I was hanging out with, and I chose to hang out with a community of people who also wanted a relationship with God and also wanted to get others to heaven. The things that I had gone to in the past to feel satisfied and to distract me from everything that was going on, I no longer felt like I had to go to that, and I turned instead to my relationship with Christ to be satisfied and to be full. Whatever it is that you've gone through in life, whatever it is that you've done, there's nothing that God can't do for you. When I had reached rock bottom, I thought that there was no way that I could get back into my life and I could step up from that, but with God, there's always a way. If you're struggling with some of the things that I struggled with in the past, or if you don't feel worthy enough, you are enough. He's able to change your life in so many ways. I experienced something so real and so true that there's no way that I'm ever gonna go back. There's no way that I'm ever gonna go back to what I was doing, because I know the truth and my eyes have been opened. Like, I'm not gonna live in the dark anymore. God is able to change your life in so many different ways, so just please allow him to. That was so awkward. I should do that again. I should take my cup of ice.